Sabina Maskey, International Generic.
So, Barry, what attracted you to do the film?
The fact that it was based on a true story attracted me to doing the film. Rick, the director, had sent me the Frontline episode that the script was based on, and you're just immediately in the shoes of the father. As a father myself, I just couldn't help but feel empathetic for that situation, and I was very surprised to learn about the mandatory minimum sentencing laws, and so I think that's what initially gravitated me towards it.
Could you tell our international viewers who may not be familiar with Frontline what exactly that is?
Frontline is an American documentary expose that deals with current issues, and they had done this documentary on this family that was involved in this drug case where their son, their 18-year-old son, had been charged with a drug crime that was that he was given an immediate 10-year sentence without parole, no ifs, ands, or buts, and that is in essence the mandatory minimum drug sentencing laws in America. If you're caught with a certain amount of drugs, no matter whether it's a nonviolent crime, a first-time offense, doesn't matter who you are or where you're from, what the situations of the case are, you're given a pre-authorized sentence. And the only sort of safety valve in the system is to cop a plea. Find somebody else that is a drug dealer that you can offer up in your place. And so that's the root or the backbone of the storyline. That's what intrigued me most.
And how about your character? What was it about your character that intrigued you to play
Well,
that character?
you know, what intrigued me about the character I play, Agent Billy Cooper, was that I wasn't aware of how deeply undercover these DEA agents go. And so that was a world that I wasn't really familiar with. Rick was, though. The director, Rick Roman-Waugh, who had done a film previous to this called Felon. He had trained as a parole officer and worked in the prisons and worked with gangs and the Hells Angels and you know, also worked with the military. And so he got to know a lot of these people of that world. And so when we started talking, he was able to offer me all this information and resources and introduce me to DEA agents and military people that had, you know, this was their life, this was their you know, livelihood, and they had to submerge themselves in that world. And when we meet my character, you see these sleeves of tattoos and the beard and the hair, and he's got, you know, very much of a heavy persona in disguise, and that world that he lives and works in has sort of become who he is.
Actually, that beard, was that your idea, or was that the makeup department?
It was based on actual DEA agents that we had researched, that Rick had met, and photographs that we had. Just like I say, the tattoos and the beard, and just that look was absolutely authentic.
There was something that I read in the press notes where DEA agents have a sort of a post-traumatic stress syndrome that I read about. Is that something you came across?
In the case of this character, he has a military background as well and transfers into federal law enforcement. So he's bringing that baggage, if you will, with him. You know, he's suffered post-traumatic stress from all of the mass violence that he's seen in the theater of war. And so he's seen a really dark side of humanity there, and then goes into drug enforcement and is working undercover with the Hells Angels. And so also see you know, what he's seen in his life and in his work has traumatized him, and it shifts a person's DNA. You know, it sort of rewires you to be very desensitized and jaded, and that's what we wanted to try to capture with that character.
I always thought that undercover agents would make really great actors, because that's what they do.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
For
yeah.
a living. Have you ever heard of any undercover agents making that transition?
No, but we worked with many in our film.
Okay.
You know, and they became part of my team in the film, my tactical team and my DEA agent team. They were authentic, actual law enforcement people, military people. So that was why we were able to bring, heighten the authenticity of the film, because we didn't have to have people acting in the background. That's what they did for a living, or they were retired from that line of work. So yeah, we were very fortunate, and that's because of Rick's relationships with, people in the military and law enforcement.
And how about working with Dwayne? Did you have any preconceived ideas about him, and what surprised you on set working with him?
I really didn't know what to expect, because we sort of all know Dwayne from his, persona as The Rock and his other films, and he's just larger than life as an action star. You don't know whether he's going to be able to lose himself in a role that he needs to, just be your average American blue-collar dad. And it was a role that he really had to commit to and really humble himself and leave any of that action ego behind. And he did. And that's what really surprised me about this.
And how about Susan Sarandon? You had a lot of intense scenes with her. What was that like? And in between takes, for some reason, I would imagine she'd just like laugh all
Yeah,
the
she's a
time.
lot of fun. She is a lot of fun. But she's fiercely intellectual, fiercely independent in her sort of libertarian views of the world, and uses her celebrity voice for good, for positive change. And so I was really, I felt very privileged to work with her, but I thought that was also a great, brilliant casting choice to put her in this very right-wing U.S. attorney role, and it was a challenge for her as an actress.
And how about such a serious subject matter? So how did you guys let off steam, or what did you do in Shreveport, Louisiana on your time off?
My downtime was spent with the law enforcement experts that we had, just because I had a very short window of time on this picture. I had, I think, 2 or 3 weeks on the schedule, so I had a lot to accomplish in the time I was there. So I didn't really have much downtime, so to speak.